my job to get on the phone was to be the immovable nice guy. And the nicer you are, the more movable you could be.
Mm.
And forgive me for picking on Mr. Donald Trump right now.
Mm-hmm.
But, the style of being, you can be very aggressive or very assertive without being aggressive. And his style is, he wants to yell at people, he wants to intimidate his way in. You don't have to give up that much assertion. You just, you don't want to be that mean. You don't want to be that hard on people.
For example, what do you mean? Like how?
Well, we're in L.A.
Yes.
There's a great guy here in town. His name is Tom Girardi. Voted top trial attorney in California several years in a row by the Bar Association. He gets voted top trial attorney so many times that when they put it on the front page, they say, again.
Wow.
So he comes in and he's a guest in my class at USC. And and I know he's a top trial attorney, but I don't know his style. I figure he's going to be an attack dog. Because I spent so much time in New York, I'm used to attack dog attorneys. And Tom walks into the class and he says, the key to negotiation is being nice and gentle. Now, what Tom does by being nice is get you to drop your guard. And Tom is an immovable, unrelenting opponent. And that's why he's so successful, and he's ridiculously nice about it. Like, he smiles and he chats with people. And he always talks about how we'll collaborate with each other in the future. You get into an argument with him, and immediately he'll bend it, where he's talking with you about how you and I are going to be successful together 10 years from now, or in the future, which is the same thing a hostage negotiator does. Like, if you're barricading a bank, I'm going to say, my first goal is to get you out of there alive. Well, I picked a point in the future that we can collaborate on. Tom Girardi does this instinctively. And he's just super nice about it. I mean, like, either you're going to cooperate with him because you like him so much, he's never going to let up on you, or more than likely you're going to say something accidentally. And he gets people saying stuff accidentally, and then he doesn't jump on you if you say something accidentally.
Right.
He lets you say so many things accidentally.
What do you mean accidentally?
Well, like, he loves to get people on uncovered emails that they never should have written. Like, if you send Tom an email saying, Tom, let's go have lunch together, he will not email you back saying okay, because he doesn't put anything in emails, because that's the downfall of almost every single lawsuit. Somebody who's done something wrong is going to put it in an email.
Wow.
And Tom knows if he's nice to the other side long enough, he's going to figure out where those emails are. So, and that's what people do all the time. Lawsuits are uncovered. People get into trouble with what they put in emails. When they say, hey, they send an email to somebody else. They say, hey, we shouldn't be doing this. And a person sends an email back saying, like, yeah, it's okay. Nobody's ever going to find out.
Oh my gosh.
In today's day and age, people put stuff in emails. And so Tom knows he's just relentlessly nice, relentless, and the most charming guy you ever met in your life.
Wow.
So you don't have to be aggressive. Secret to gaining the upper hand in a negotiation is giving the other side the illusion of control. Now, I'm coming at you as a very control-oriented negotiator.
Right.
As soon as you don't struggle with me over control, you actually begin to gain an advantage.
Because then you feel like you're in control.
Right.
And you don't have to try to gain it anymore.
Right. I'm more than likely going to start dropping if I'm a control freak guy. If I want to talk all the time, I'm a control freak guy.
Mm-hmm.
Control freak negotiators who want to talk all the time, they feel out of control when they're not talking. So you want to get them to the point where they don't talk, but they don't talk because they're relaxed, not because they're trying to seize control.
Right.
So you did a real nice job with that. Now, the only thing, another thing that we teach is, see, you're not going to give me a car.
Right.
And you trying to make it sound like you were going to.
Yeah.
Now, I teach how to say no.
Uh-huh.
And then you want to feel other ways of saying, because the real answer to that, just like at the very beginning of my book, you're supposed to look at me and say, how am I supposed to do that?
So poise it back to a question.
Right. A how question.
An open-ended question.
Well, not just open-ended, how.
Okay.
How is the key to life. Yes is nothing without how. So, if and you could also start talking about how without talking about yes.
So just say, you
could say, how would I do that?
Would I say, I'd love to get you what you need? How would I do that?
Just how would I do that?
How would I do that? So give them the control to figure out the solution.
Right. how am I supposed to get you the car in that time frame?
Mm.
Because that's what you're trying to express. There actually is a time problem here.
Right. In 60 seconds, how am I supposed to get you a car?
Right, right. That's different than we can get a car. We just need 60 more seconds.
Right. We need more time. Yeah, yeah.
Right, because
Okay.
now I think you're ducking me.
Okay.
But if you instead you say like, how am I, of course the cars are out here right away. But first of all, I gotta tell everybody what we're gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need anybody to get surprised. Let's talk through the details of how this is gonna get done.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, what got you here in the first place?
Mm.
How do you find yourself into this kind of a situation? How do I make sure I get you out of there alive? The succession of how questions. How am I supposed to promise to get you a car if I don't know that she's going to come out alive?
Mm.
You take what you want and make it the path to what I want.
Mm.
How am I supposed to get you in here if it doesn't benefit me also?
Right.
So as soon as in any negotiation, what I want is now a means of getting what you want, then that changes the dynamic right away.
So how do you deal in a negotiation with the kind of person who has to win, who has to get everything they want? They're very controlling, alpha,
right?
And it's their way or no way.
Well, getting everything they want is actually third on their list. First of all, being in control is number one on their list, and that's emotionally satisfying.
Mm.
The second thing is the alpha type, which is, we refer to that as the assertive. The one thing that's more important to them than actually getting what they want is being respected and making sure that you know everything about what they're coming from. So, and it's a classic guy who's working for his boss and said, you know what, my boss didn't do what I wanted him to do, but he heard me out. Or she heard me out.
Mm.
I can live with the direction that we're going as long as I know that my boss knows my opinion. And so that the assertive type of negotiator, it's really more important to them that they felt that they conducted themselves respectably, that you respected them, and that you knew what they were coming from.
Mm.
And once they know those things, they'll actually soften up on what they want.
If they feel disrespected, they'll probably be more frustrated and angry and demanding.
Right.
So you have
because
to
when
respect.
they're very demanding, what they're really saying to you subtly is, I want you to know how important this is to me.
Right.
I want you to know how important I am.
So how do you meet that person? Just come to them with respect or with calm? Or
you could say, look, you're impressive. You're phenomenal.
You've thought it's all out. This is very...
Yeah, I mean, clearly you know where you're coming from. You know what you want. I'm lucky to be talking to you at all.
Right.
I mean, if were I to sit down with Donald Trump, I would in fact be lucky to be in the same room with him. That'd be the first thing I'd say to him. I'd say,
stroke his ego.
You're an American icon.
Right.
You're the symbol of American business, certainly in New York City. Yeah, stroking their ego is not a bad thing. It's a version of empathy because that's how they see themselves.
Mm.
And the emotional recognition, like emotional currency, is not going to solve every deal. I just don't want to try to solve any deal with money when I could have solved it with emotional currency. I'm saving my money
with emotional empathy, currency, intelligence.
Right. My money's too important to me to waste it when I could buy something with satisfaction.
Mm.
So yeah,
I mean, that.
I'm enormously tight with my dollars.
And so many people, especially men in business deals, I feel like there's a lot of alpha men who are trying to get what they want, and so somehow they'll lose money because they're not able to have empathy, or they're not able to, whatever, they're not able to drop their ego.
Yeah, a lot of money's left on the table over stuff like that, or what they value themselves out. Like price is the most emotional term in a negotiation because you value yourself based on price. But if I can get you to value yourself in another way, put you on a magazine cover. I mean,
stroke the ego in some other way.
It used to be you get Donald Trump in any magazine you wanted to if you put him on a cover. Imagine the amount of time, and that used to be his deal. If you wanted to do an article on Donald Trump, the deal was he made the cover. And then he would knock himself out for the people doing the articles.
Oh, yeah.
On access,
Anything.
answering questions.
Yeah.
Imagine how valuable his time was. They got to cover to the magazine anyway. They got to put somebody on it.
Right.
You know, now they're trading something that costs them nothing.
Right.
And he's giving them dynamic interviews.
And he's promoting them hard, and he's sharing them with everyone.
Yeah,
he's
exactly
framing
right.
it everywhere. And
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so you're buying Donald Trump with emotional recognition.
So what are the characteristics that make a great negotiator in your field, and also how do those translate into the business and relationship world, just in general, outside of?
Well, let the other side go first. Most people they're burning with their argument. Here's why you should make this deal, and they've got that memorized, and they're not going to listen to a word you say till they get it out. So trying to talk to them is really like trying to talk to a paranoid schizophrenic.
Right.
Because they're rehearsing their speech in their head and their logic. And so you just can't get through to them. So you let them go first. And another guy, Ned Coletti, former GM of the Dodgers, friend of mine here in town, phenomenal negotiator.
Mm-hmm.
He's lectured at my class at USC also. And Ned always likes to let the other side go first. He did the Barry Bonds deal. He's done a ton of deals across the board. And Ned says, well, in a 2-hour phone call, there's going to be 90 seconds of solid gold, where the person I'm talking to, based on changes that they made in their tone of voice and the adjectives that they used, I mean, he's got an instinct for it. He couldn't identify. He just always say there's 90 seconds of solid gold, and I'd say, what is that?
Right.
And we talk it through, and he says, well, yeah, it's going to be a change in the tone of voice. It's going to be a different kind of adjective. So Ned wants you to go first because he wants to know what's going to take to make the deal.
What they want.
Right. Yeah. What they're burning
them.
for, or how they characterize what they have.
Or what they're not saying too, maybe.
Exactly right. What someone has failed to say is often a lot more important than what they have said. Which is why you give it a little thought in advance. All right, what are they gonna say if they've got this? So I actually like to look for more of what they haven't said, what's glaringly missing, and that's going to take. I'm going to need you to walk through it a couple of times before that jumps out at me.
Okay. Who are the most difficult people to work with then? Would you say it's the alpha people, or would you say it's the uncertain people, or what type of people are hard to work in negotiation with?
You're talking about a little bit of a tight match, and that has a tendency. It's a little bit based on how bad I want to make the deal. Like, I don't like liars. Or I don't like the most difficult people to work with in the long run are people who haven't thought anything through, which is as bad as a liar, only their heart's not in the wrong place.
They don't know what they want specifically,
or they don't know how they're going to. They don't know how they're going to get this done. Which is, again, we go over and over again. I go over and over again. Yes is nothing without how. And the person who thinks like yes is going to make a deal. Well, yes is not going to make a deal because you got to have how. How are we going to put this together? And someone that doesn't think things through, a lot of times, they're actually kind of dysfunctional on their own side. So they'll make promises they can't keep, and they have no idea they can't keep those promises.
Right.
And so when they take your deal, you think you've done a deal with them, they take it back to their company, and their company goes like, no, we're not doing this. This is a stupid idea. We can't do this.
Sure.
And that happens a lot. I think in the private sector, I've heard from a number of companies that fully 50% of the deals that they make that don't go through get killed internally because somebody cut a deal for them and they took it back to the company, and the company says, no, that violates our terms and conditions.
Right.
We can't deliver on that basis. So you're dealing with someone who just has doesn't have a clue as to what's going on their side.
Sure.
There are a lot of people like that.
When you're making a business deal, what do you recommend as the amount of time to consider the deal before saying, yes, let's do it? Like, here's the deal points. Here's what you want. Here's what I want. Okay, should we sign it right away? Should we give it 24 hours? Should we take it to our team? Should it be a week? What's like kind of a standard, you think?
Unless you've got something in line ahead of time. The company name is the Black Swan Group because we believe there's black swans in every negotiation, which is something you didn't know, that as soon as you found out, it's going to change all the parameters.
The deal. Gotcha.
So you sit down at the table to find out the unknowns.
Huh.
And it's impossible to research all the unknowns. Plus, a lot of the unknowns, I'll find them a lot faster if I just ask you.
Right.
And I could research for 2 weeks something that I may be able to get you to tell me about in 10 minutes.
For example, what do you mean? Something you'd want to ask?
I'm speaking to for a long time client, and they have another firm that I've been affiliated with doing a different block. When I found out they were doing that block, I could subtly reach back through my network to find out what the competing / partnership firm of mine is, what they're charging, or I could just flat out
Ask them.
Well, I need to get the information. A lot of information you got to get by not asking. You got to trigger it. The phrase "ask good questions," it's really get good information. And a lot of times you won't tell me stuff if I ask. But if I act like I already know, or if there are other ways, hostage negotiators trigger information without asking questions. And hostage negotiators get that information and make you feel good about giving it at the same time.
If you want more greatness in your life, then you got to check out this video right here.
But because it was a correction, and people love to correct, they'll correct you without thinking it through. It's an involuntary response, a desire to sound smarter than you and to be right and correct you, which is a burning desire in most people.